Another tool that I have in my shop is thermometer, right? And I'm not really sure if you can tell what it says by the lighting and stuff, but it's right at about 50 degrees in here. And it's 50 degrees in a shop that has a lot of equipment and a 9-inch thick concrete floor. And in this shop, you got lighting and tools and stuff, and just tons of things, right? And I guess where I'm going with this is the tool of mass that we're also experiencing right now, um, is a really good one, right? It's a really, really, um, I want to go for a little walk outside, because I'm already dressed for it, because it's 50 degrees in here, and it's only about 32 out here, so it's only about a 20-degree difference, right? But when it gets cold here, actually, you know what? We're gonna go right over here. We're gonna go through this yard. The mass, that's what helps to stabilize temperatures, right? And it's 50 degrees in my shop. A couple magpies. It's 50 degrees in my shop, and without any heat. I'm not using any heat right now, and I haven't had a fire in there. I mean, when I get a fire in there, that brings it up to 70 or 80 pretty easily. But um, but lately, I just haven't wanted to bothered with keeping it warm all the time. The dog's got something nice to lay on, a little spot to keep them warm. But if you dress right, you don't really have to have a heater going on all the time. And if you build your house where it's connected to the earth, if down a few feet, it stays almost the same temperature year round, right? So maybe in the summertime it might get up to 57 degrees, but in the wintertime it only drops down to 50 degrees, right? Or 55 or whatever. I mean, it depends on the area you're in and how deep the frost level is and the type of soil and all that kind of thing. But these tools are just using things in the right way, right? Because they're a barrier or a burden, like that right there. That rock would be a barrier or a burden if it was right in the middle of a trail. But since it's being used as a tool, yeah, right, how you using a rock as a tool, just like other people have used rocks as tools, right? And it has built a little berm. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you can see that. So it's built a little berm right here, like a beaver would do, and then it collects water. And then that water pipe is about 300 feet long, and it delivers water way across the hillside, just by gravity and siphon. Anyway, yeah, so the problem with the world is people don't know how to use tools, right? I mean, like glass bottles. Those are such a cool tool, right? People saying they're trash. But yet if you put a little bit of concrete in between them, they'll stand up that way for hundreds of years and serve as a house or a wall or a retaining wall, or there's so many things, right? There's these resources that we're throwing away every day that could be used as tools to build what I call a revolution, right? These tools that are available in our community are in abundance, right? And they're managing these tools in the best way they know how to make the most money that they can, right? Because that's the way money works, right? I mean, if you really like money, you always want more of it. What I like is I like being peaceful, and I like healthy and being happy and being abundant in my most valuable asset of my life, which is my time. I've had the time to educate myself. I've had the time to create health and abundance for myself and for the people I come in contact with. And I try to help others, with what I've done. I mean, it wasn't illegal, so it's not a secret, I mean, it's just not throwing everything away. And when you see something of value that's available for free, because people are always giving away things that they don't want anymore, you grab it. And sometimes you have to clean it up, or sometimes you have to fix it, or sometimes you have to paint it or something. But when you do that, it becomes valuable again. And then you can just basically make money with your time, which that's what people are doing, for a job, right? But they're only being paid maybe 15 or 40 or $50 an hour for their time, while their time is slipping away, right? Their time is slipping away because they're giving away all of their energy to somebody else who's making money off of their energy. And that somebody else, that middleman, the boss, they're a great resource, because if I don't know how to do plumbing, maybe I would go and I would seek to be a plumber. I would say, hey, how do I want to get involved in this? And he's like, all right, well, you can tag along and you can start cleaning up after jobs and you can do this and whatever, an apprentice, right? You're going to be a first year apprentice. By the fourth year apprentice, you're going to be a pretty capable guy. I mean, you're going to be able to run water lines. You're going to be able to use all the tools. You're going to be able to maybe put together a bill of materials for the job. You're going to be able to maybe even bid the jobs, right? And by that time, the money that the employer has made off the employee or the apprentice has been the apprentice basically paying for their education, you know. And if I'm a tight-lipped employer and I'm only going to teach him enough so that he can work for me really well, you put people in different positions. Sure, there's no way one guy could be doing all of this, right? One guy couldn't do the bidding and the bill of materials and the actual labor and the trim. But if you break that up into different professions, each person can only do a limited number of things. And so you need all of these people dependent upon a group, right, to be able to make money. And if you're working with people, you can make more money because you can do more things. But every person should be empowered that they could go on their own at any point in time that they're not feeling represented in the contracts, the employment contract. If I don't need oversight and I don't need anybody to do the things in my life for me, that makes me a pretty powerful person because I can offer a better service and a more reliable service because of the consistency. And I'm not limited to working 8 hours a day. Right? When I'm working for myself, I might choose to work 16 or 18. But then people see you buy a new boat or a truck or something, and then they're jealous of the product of what you've achieved, but yet they're still only working 4 or 6 hours or 8 hours a day for somebody else because they don't trust in themselves to provide the service that they're trying to provide, right? One of the best tools that we have available to us right now is the internet and the ability to educate yourself on any topic that you want. And you have to trust in your discernment. There's going to be people who just don't know what they're talking about, that are just trying to go for clicks. Last Thanksgiving, I wasn't sure how to put how to make the best turkey with one of those tabletop ovens. And so I watched, five YouTube videos. One of the videos, the lady just didn't know what she was talking about. I mean, she was going out of, she was trying to, you just knew she was doing it for clicks. But then the other 4 videos I watched were Southern ladies that, you can tell they've just been cooking a long time, and really treating their families to some good food, right? And so I listened to what they had to say, and they were all pretty similar. They just gave me some different ideas. And when I made a turkey dinner, it was a very, very good turkey. I mean, it was like, wow, dude, you you nailed that. I'm like, yeah, well, I just listened to people that know, and then did what they said, right? Monkey see, monkey do. Tools, education. That's what we need. We just need education. We don't need indoctrination of sit down, shut up, listen, or fail, right? What we need is the inspiration towards what the child is interested in when they're interested in it. Because when we do that, that is where you're going to have excited children who are not needing antidepressants. When we stop shoving a bunch of kids in a box that have a whole bunch of energy and have conflict with each other. There in some schools there's gangs, right? There's gangs in schools, public schools, and kids unaliving each other, right? And beating each other up and bullying, and now there's cyberbullying, and there's all sorts of reasons that our children are choosing to exit this experience prematurely. They're stressed out. They don't know how to handle their emotions. They're seeing all these scary things happening on the television programming. Media is creating an illusion. The planet is so bad. There's so much division. There's so much hate. But you know what? There's not as much as in the world as what we're being shown, right? Because most of the interactions that I have with people, and even though I live out here in the country, out in the desert, I when I'm in town, I engage with a lot of different people, right? I mean, I probably talk to more people per month than most people do in at least probably 5 or 6 months. Because when I'm engaged with them, I'm really engaged. I mean, we're having a conversation, and I'm jumping from conversation to conversation to conversation, and I like that level of exposure to people. But I can appreciate that the most because it's usually just like this. It's quiet, it's peaceful, it's calm. I'm surrounded in resources that I like to build with. I mean, these rocks. Lots and lots of rocks. I like to build with rocks, though, because it makes sense. It won't catch on fire, it doesn't rot away. It's strong. If you stack them just right, you can just pack mud between all the joints, and you've got a home. There's something inherently wrong in the world with the way we're doing things if life isn't happening in a way that we feel it's happening for us. When it's happening to us, that can be um, a very dangerous way to live your nows, right? So anyway, I learned how to teach, or I learned enough about meditation that now I can teach others. I share. I'm able to help people experience calmness that they don't remember. Right? I reintroduce that to them. I call it heavily meditated because on my on my apparel, it looks like it says heavily medicated, and that's what the public is actually kind of used to. But then when they see meditated, they're like, "Oh, wow, that's right. That's a sneaky one." I'm like, "It is. It sure is." But the thing is when we're heavily meditated, our now moments are going to be shaped in the way we want it. And some people they would be really really miserable right now where I am. I mean, my hands, I can feel the briskness, I mean, I can feel how cold they are. I can feel how cold my legs are. I can feel I can always see I don't know. You can barely see the breath, but um it is cold. I don't know. I think it's I don't know the temperature right now. There was ice hanging off the roof, so I'm guessing around the 32-degree mark or lower. But but I get bored sitting on a beach. I mean, I've been on one cool vacation. I went to Maui, and if I was just sitting on the beach, that's pretty boring to me. I feel like I want to be accomplishing something and seeing new things, and but that's where there's different pieces of the puzzle, right? We're all a different piece of that puzzle. We're we're all creating an experience where there's so many options out there that you should never really get bored. But a lot of people, they're living in a loop. I mean, I can show you how to be able to live a whole year on 1 month's worth of income, right? That's 11 months of vacation every year, right? That's a pretty good deal. That's and if you get really efficient at it, you might only have to work just a few days out of a whole year, right? People think that they're going to do traveling when they get old, but if you get old, if you've worn out your body, you're not going to travel. You're going to be sitting in a tighter loop. The TV turns on, the TV turns off, right? The TV turns on, the TV turns off, and that's not a way to live life. So anyway, I'm trying to build a revolution by helping people to create an awareness of other ideas that are available to us and how we can live outside of cities. It's not that cities are a bad thing because they're a great place to visit. They've got all the different types of food and entertainment and education or group activities, and there's all of these things that are available in a city. But when you try to live there, you become a product of commerce. Everything in your life becomes a need, right? It's not just a want, it's a need. And then when you need so many things, it becomes a very expensive life. And when you're wanting somebody else to provide these things for you, it's a very expensive life. So, anyway, luckily there are solutions that exist for the problems we face. They're just not popular yet.